In April 4th, 1949, President Harry S. Truman presided over the signing of the North Atlantic Treaty amid growing fears of Soviet power. 75 years later, NATO is now the strongest, the most successful defense alliance the world has ever known, reinforcing that in real time as it stands united against threats from Moscow. What started as 12 founding members has grown to 32 for Sweden and Finland this year, representing half of the world's economic and military power, as representatives from all 32 member nations are gathered in Brussels to mark the alliance's many achievements on this anniversary. And they're honoring the U.S. president who helped start it all with an 8-foot-tall bronze statue of President Truman unveiled. His eldest grandson, Clifton Truman Daniel, joins us now from Brussels. Also with us, NBC News presidential historian Michael Beschloss. So, Clifton Daniels, you were 6 years old when you learned that your grandfather had become the United States president. Talk to us about that and about the unraveling of the statue for him and what NATO means, most importantly.
Thank you, Andrea, for having me on. And hi, Michael.
Hi, Cliff.
That story, of course, my parents didn't tell me my grandfather had been president. I found out in school.
Thank God amazing.
Oh, yeah, that's not the word I would have used for it, or my teacher. She went around the room asking all of us to stand up on the first day of class and say a little something about themselves. And apparently I said, "Hi, I'm Clifton," and sat back down. And she said, "Wait a minute, wasn't your grandfather president of the United States?" And I said, "I don't know." And it was probably the first of many answers my teachers didn't like over the years. But I went home that afternoon and I dropped my book bag at the front door and I marched across the living room to where my mother was sitting, and I put my hands on my hips and I said, "Mom, did you know that Grandpa Truman had been president?" And she put the book down and she looked at me and she said, "Yes, but just remember something. Any little boy's grandfather can be president. Don't let it go to your head."
That is such an amazing story. You must have been in first grade or something.
I was 6 years old, like you said. You got it.
Wow. So what do you think about your grandfather's enduring legacy? We've been through a period where Donald Trump was criticizing NATO and insulting NATO leaders. Whether or not he would do that again, who knows, if he were in the Oval Office. But you've had, the NATO summits. I've been to most of them. The first that Joe Biden went to when he was first elected was "America is back." That was his theme. And they welcomed him with open arms.
Having been to the NATO headquarters today and having been with Secretary Blinken and Ambassador Smith and the General Secretary, and listening to the ministers of 32 nations and their confidence, their praise, their need for the NATO alliance, it's hard to imagine for me that anyone, any American or anyone, would want to weaken or try to weaken something like that. My grandfather, I don't know how far his vision went, but his idea, his dream, his action has kept the peace and boosted prosperity for 75 years. And it needs to keep doing that, especially as you've just said and others have been saying in the news, especially that the threat seems to have been renewed from the same source.
And it's been a bipartisan, enduring legacy up until very recently. Michael Beschloss, you're the biggest fan of presidential libraries. The first one I went to was as a young reporter. I was covering the 76 Kansas City Republican Convention and took an extra day off work to go to the Truman Library, and it was just eye-opening, which cemented my love of politics and wanting to come to Washington. So there
wonderful.
You are.
And if I could say to something that Cliff, just break in for a second, said, Cliff, I think you would agree with me that if Harry Truman came back, he would want to kick the rear end of any president who wanted to abolish NATO, and he would not have used the word rear end.
And
I think that's it.
No, I was just going to say, and the David McCullough book, one of my favorite presidential biographies, makes that clear too, right?
Wonderful.
Clifton?
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about, Michael, talk to me about Congress's inaction now. What would President Truman be saying about not supplying money to Ukraine in a war?
Well, I think he'd want to kick some rear ends on Capitol Hill, too, because if he came back today, he would say that the reason the three of us are in this program as Americans alive has a lot to do with the fact that NATO survived, that Harry Truman thought of it, that he got it through Congress, and explained to Americans why only 4 years after the end of World War II, they had to possibly arm to fight the Soviet Union and keep it out of Western Europe and preserve freedom. We're fighting that fight all over again right now. Republicans on Capitol Hill are saying that there's a very good chance we're going to vote down aid to Ukraine. There is less support on that side for NATO than there has probably been in the last 75 years. That is tragic. And if you think that NATO is the keystone to freedom on earth in 2024 as it was in 1949, and I don't want to keep on citing Cliff for confirmation, but I think the three of us would think that is true. We are in danger today, and I wish that Harry Truman were back to explain to Americans why this is so absolutely essential.
That's why we're so happy to have you here today, Michael, and Clifton Truman, Daniel. It's such a pleasure to meet you virtually. And while we're talking about history, we know that it was the 2012 Democratic Convention in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was misspoken just a little while ago that it was
of course
not 2012, it was 2012.
Yes.
Thanks to both of you. And
thank you.
Thank you.
Head to MSNBC.com to read more from Clifton Daniel about how his grandfather's warning still rings true 75 years after the NATO signing.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.